Great. Now let's go over user experience issues to consider when designing your ML product. This area is of particular interest to me because of my background in design and user research. When considering different machine learning product features, think about the user experience around them. For example, are there multiple ways to design the UX for the same feature to predict something or perform another machine learning use case? If we look to the right, we see two different versions of an AI chatbot used to help a patient who is ill and trying to find a doctor. One version uses pills that the user uses to respond to the chatbot with, and the other one, the user here simply types a response as if they were talking to a real human. Each one of these designs may have different risks involved that require different levels of machine learning resources. You should choose a design that has good usability metrics like time on task, error rates, efficient user navigation through the experience, also known as a user flow, perception of ease, often known as an SUS measurement, but the design still uses the least amount of machine learning resources among all the possibilities and is still highly accurate. Also, consider that integrating machine learning into the UX of your app or website could possibly slow things down. If it does, how detrimental is this to the overall user experience? These are some of the things that you should consider. Furthermore, you need to show enough of what the machine learning model is doing in the user experience so that the user has trust in the algorithm and its output. Some common domains where this is an issue would be fraud detection or stock market prediction. For example, in the domain of fraud detection, which I've worked in personally as a user researcher and designer, it's important to visualize for the user why you think something is fraud. For example, what credit cards are connected to a transaction or ATM transactions or other things like that. Visualizing it in a flowchart creates more credibility for a fraud analyst to trust what a machine learning algorithm tells them is or is not fraud. In contrast, if your UX simply had a pop-up that stated if something was fraud or not fraud with no explanation or diagram, the fraud analyst may not have as much faith that what the algorithm is predicting is accurate. You should use user feedback to refine both the machine learning model and the user experience around your machine learning product feature. We'll go over this in greater detail in the next unit on user research for machine learning. Last, but certainly not least, all my designer friends will appreciate that I'm going to tell you it's incredibly important to include user experience in the discussion from the very beginning of even the planning phase for your project. This ensures that you're thinking about the user experience from the start and taking it into account when planning everything out. Great! Now we've gone over key user experience issues to consider when planning your machine learning product. Next, we'll go over the classroom discussion exercise for this unit.